Welcome back once again to the casting spot for the Relegations of North America. 2 games down, 2 interesting games as well. Yeah. And the third one now in the cards. Neilmah versus Memory of Gabe.
My heart is still just settling down from that game, almost going the way of Cope.
That was crazy.
Yeah, that was pretty nuts. But now we get to see the last 2 teams we haven't seen so far yet today. Neilmah versus In Memory of Gabe. 2 teams that are very, very high quality. Neilmah, the former Envy team, Envy, that is defending their spot in the Pro League. And then In Memory of Gabe, the favorites here. Coming out of the Challenger Cup, but it's 4 tenured SPL players, and then Cynosure, who's been in the console league for a long time, won a lot of lands as part of ALG on console, and it was around the PC Challenger Cup quite a bit. So very, very tenured players all across the board for Memory of Gabe, and I think a lot of people are really expecting them to be the top card.
If you are just tuning in, let's have a quick look at the standings here. You can see exactly how this all breaks down so far. Enemy did just about make it to that win overall, even though they were dominant for a while. Noble, though, they did find the win there over Astral Authority in the first game of the day. It was an interesting encounter where Noble looked a little shaky mechanics-wise, but execution was definitely all theirs, where Astral Authority, different story. Plenty of things to work on after that first game.
Yeah, exactly. Cope definitely looked a little bit more competitive in their first game, but it's a long, long day.
It really is.
It seems like Astral Authority could absolutely turn it around very, very easily, especially ones that have been together as long as Astral Authority have. You expect that they're going to really turn around their performance and look pretty strong by the end of the day.
Now, before going to this one as well, obviously all these teams play each other once in best of ones. The top 3 teams will advance into the Pro League. The losers will go down to the Challenger Circuit overall. And if we do have tiebreakers, they will be played today. And with how the levels of composition are, always be ready for that, because it was very close to that yesterday in Europe as well.
We just avoided a tiebreaker yesterday, and I don't know if we're going to be in that same boat today. I really do expect to see a lot of these teams very, very close for those top 3 spots.
Well, into picks and bans we go between Memory of Gabe and Neilmah now as well. We'll see if things do shake up in terms of picks and bans. We saw Toth and Nike focus bans, but everything else seems a bit interesting right now after just 2 games.
Yeah, Zeus going to be the first ban away from Hurriwind on In Memory of Gabe. Zeus was played by MLC Stealth in game number 1. Looked very, very strong. Wasn't selected or banned in game 2, but certainly a strong pick in this meta.
Isn't Nami banned out by Memory of Gabe? Recognizing the potential of this hunter, we've seen a lot of builds coming out with her with double crit, obviously with Poison Star, Wind Demon into Executioner, being very, very strong in the early stages.
Very much so. Now 2 support bans. Nike is open, and Thoth, Ymir and Sylvanas both open here. Venenu, the mid laner for Neilmah. We saw him in the hunter position for ALG during the last season. Who is going to take this Thoth? That's the one I'm looking for.
I'm expecting Neilmah to take the Toth, and then we'll see... I thought we'd see them take Toth, and then we'll see Hurriwind pick up JAnus, is what I kind of expected there.
That could be excellent as well, but here, I mean, Nike Thoth, that seems incredibly strong, at least on paper. Though the Thanatos does do a great job up against Nike because it can silence out the Rend very, very easily.
And also still kill them through the execution because the shield is not health.
That's a great point. But it is going to be Geb for Eonic as a support, and they're going to forego the Thoth. JAnus is going to be the selection for Hurriwind.
Do you like the choice of Sylvanas and Ymir bans here? Khepri's one that's available, but you can't really draft the Khepri into it Thanatos that often. Hurriwind, though, going with the JAnus over the Thoth here, this is more, I guess, maybe not played Thoth enough or not comfortable or think he's good.
Or just carried his brains out on JAnus enough times that he thinks that's the play, and you can't really fault him for that.
And that's exactly what happens when you've got a Thanatos in your team. The enemy team can't really draft Khepri too well, so it gives you the option to take it yourself.
Isis for Venenu in the mid lane for Neilmah. They're going all pressure. That's the entire, I mean, all 3 gods right now are just pressure, pressure, pressure all across the map. Serqet going to be locked in here for In Memory of Gabe. A little bit of a tough matchup up against Khepri because if you put that last breath on someone, they're ticking down, you know, just kind of a waiting time bomb, but then they get Khepri res and everything's fine and good. But great at picking out a character like Khepri in the jungle. Tons of burst damage that Khepri, it's difficult for him to account for.
But Serqet with Bluestone has a pretty good time in the early stages of the game. Obviously, with Poisons dotting things up as well, and Bluestone dotting things up on top of that. It causes a lot of problems for the team in the early stages, and he's just fantastic at clear because of it.
Serqet, in my mind, is one of probably the top 4 junglers, or top 4 assassins, at least, in the jungle right now. Just tons of great clear early on because of that Bluestone. Mobility through the roof. CC, excellent. Damage, great. The only real shortcoming of Serqet is that her team fighting isn't great. But this draft, for me, tells you that Memory of Gabe isn't really interested in team fighting you. They're going to find you by yourself in the jungle and pick you off with that through space and time with the Serqet. Tons of mobility, and we saw how great Gwubin was on that Geb. So no real surprise to see Eonic pick it up.
No Thoth and no Nike drafted after they've been pretty much permanent banned by all the teams so far in the Season 4 that we've seen. Even in like rank play, they're pretty much constantly out of the picture. But Nike didn't get drafted in the first 6, and neither did Thoth. And now Nike's off the table. Thoth more than likely not going to get picked anyway, just because we've got our two mages.
Two mid laners already. Yeah, it's very, very surprising. Hopefully this means we could actually see a little bit of Thoth and Nike in play. That'd be exciting. I want to see them a little bit today, especially Thoth. I can't wait to see how he does in competitive play. Cabrakan and Anhur are going to round out the draft for Neilmah. That's going to be Cabrakan in the solo lane.
So
I
early
anticipate
pressure
for KikiSoCheeky. And this is a Kiki god for me.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just a little bit unconventional, but insane kill potential in lane, great CC, can just do the sort of weird things that Kiki likes to play. Very, very good draft from Neilmah. My only concern is they get to late game, they don't have a whole lot there for you.
It's true. You're going to have to get off to a really good start at the beginning of the game. That's what they're looking to do with the lane pressure here. Isis pressures mid, Thanatos strong in the jungle, Anhur definitely strong in the lane. And with a Khepri alongside him, like that lane clear up against a Gabe and Medusa, definitely going to be dominant.
Yeah, and Medusa very, very strong right now in the Hunter role. I've seen a lot of Hunters picking her up and trying to get back that god back into the god pool. Very, very good with Fatalis because of the additional movement speed side to side and backwards from the passive, as well as a couple buffs she got going into Season 4.
And the big T is a lot of the pro players we're talking, Medusa's always been on the cusp of play, but she's never really found it because there was one or two things that just felt a little bit lackluster compared to other Hunters. With the small little buff she got in the last patch in Season 4, it has seen a few more people turn their attention back towards her again. And if Snoopy's doing it, well, it kind of gives you an instigation that it could be pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. Snoopy, I mean, you just look down the roster of A Memory of Gabe and you see a lot of very, very strong players, but the same could be said for Neilmah. I mean, Skeeledon definitely has a very bright future in the SPL. It has had a lot of success there. Actually, hold this.
Proxy farm on mid-wave in middle lane 1. 2 members here to deal with it, though. They're going to have to trade out some damage here. Eonic going to cancel out the tremors from Kiki. Kiki's in trouble, though.
Yeah, that's bad.
Kiki's in a lot of trouble. Minion's going to get aggroed, though, onto Skeeledon there by taking damage onto Eonic. A lot of pressure onto Neilmah there, and they don't get a lot out of that, really. The minions are mostly still alive in the mid lane. Safety under the tower for Memory of Gabe, but they are going to try and steal the speed. However, look at the right-hand side of the map as well, where Serqet and Whalrus are on that Sun Wukong. They're now going to try and invade the speed buff in response.
Yeah, this did not work out for Neilmah. They needed a jungler or a solo laner that can go over the top and get the archers underneath the tower because they were all 1 HP, but they had no one to get there, and it was a great job by Hurriwind to body block and make sure that they didn't go down. So Neilmah overall definitely behind early on.
Yeah, behind a little bit for the time being, but you can see the levels still look the same for now. The experience obviously will count towards hitting that level 3 a little bit earlier for the time being. Left-hand side of the map, no. NeiruMah and DayToRemember in the duo lane did manage to steal away the purple buff on that left-hand side away from Snoopy, and now Memory of Gabe are going to secure their own red buff to make sure that continuing trend of invading the jungle doesn't continue.
So this duo lane for Neilmah, these are the two that you probably don't recognize if you're fans of the SPL, but not really in tune with the challenger scene quite as much. NeiruMah seems to always be on these teams that are kind of put together with a lot of really good players and some Challenger Cup players. NeiruMah's name is always floating around in that support role. And then DayToRemember, one of the brightest hunters coming out of the Challenger Cup. I mean, Famous Hate, very, very strong for Astral Authority, and then DayToRemember from Most Wanted Esports, very, very strong player in the hunter role.
Well, oracles are available on the left-hand side. 3 members of Neilmah are here to secure these ones. No response from Memory of Gabe just yet. Now, Memory of Gabe, obviously, we talked about Neilmah in the early game. They've got a very strong comp for invading, for pushing the lanes out. Memory of Gabe just kind of have to sit back a little bit and just take the wins where they can for the time being.
And they're okay with that because they've got excellent late game, unlike that of Neilmah in my mind. I mean, you've got the 40% execute and excellent CC chain capabilities between the long-range root, the stun, the spirit ball, the impale stuns, Kiki stuns. There's plenty of CC chain, but not a whole lot of damage in the late game for Neilmah, where on the side of in Memory of Gabe, they aren't really looking to team fight. They're looking to pick you off, and their late game damage is going to be a little bit higher.
Well, on the left-hand side, you can see the zone control working on Snoopy there. Not enough to actually bring him down as Whalrus trading off with KikiSoCheeky. And a bit of a better spot here in terms of potions as well, as you can see on the consumable sab to show Whalrus that he's going to play a little bit careful in this lane. Did hit 5 first, though.
Kiki, no teleport. He went for meditation, so he's not going to be able to be that mobile guardian or mobile warrior out of the solo lane. early on, just relying on his rotation ability and that additional movement speed from the Cabrakan one.
Not really mentioned too much about the composition of Neilmah here in terms of the players, but Venenu was a hunter previously last season, now moving transition towards the mid lane. A big talking point in mid in North America is that so many players that have transitioned to becoming mid-focused. Venenu on that list.
Certainly. He's been playing mid basically ever since he got dropped from Allegiance right before the group stages, right after the group stages, right before the gauntlet in North America. He's been playing mid ever since, so probably a little bit more experienced than guys like Baskin and Anhur, who have just recently transitioned to that role, but still a young player, still likes to do things his way as opposed to the usual meta, but certainly pretty strong in that lane.
Speed buff invaded by Skeeledon here. Cataclysm from Eonic onto Venenu here. Venenu's in a bit of an awkward spot, but Skeely gets the speed and hovering deaths away. Cynosure still looking at Venenu, gets the ultimate off in a perfect spot, pulls him back towards his team. Great ultimate from NeiruMah to get him back to safety. Kiki now on the rotation to support and defend his team. Could drop the walls down defensively if need be, but his team is safe enough to walk away. However, Memory of Gabe look towards the speed buff.
Speed buffs traded out there. Great ultimate from Cynosure to deny Venenu that heal and circle of protection, but an even better ultimate from NeiruMah, like you mentioned, to res him away. And that's exactly what you want to be doing as Khepri. He's not your, Athena or Sobek or Kumbhakarna that wants to be in the enemy backline, just being a nuisance, being difficult to deal with. He wants to be even farther back than the carries, giving them that damage protection or damage reduction on the Rising Dawn right there, and then just like that, not getting CC'd so we can use the Scarab's Blessing and pull them back in. Great play from NeiruMah.
Yeah, there's definitely different styles of support players in terms of what you do. There's either the aggressive ones, like you said, like Cabrakan, that always wants to be in the enemy's face, trying to deal the damage, slow them down. Then you've got the likes of the mid-tier ones as well, the ones like, to an extent, it's more like a Geb, where he can go initiative and aggressive, but wants to sit the backline and protect his carries too. And then Khepri kind of fits along the middle ground, I want to say, with the pull of Abduct and the roots looking to throw those out, but they still find that balance of protecting the backline.
Khepri is definitely one of the harder Guardians to play in my mind, just because of that, you got to be in the right spot at the right time. Sometimes you are needed to initiate with a long-range solar flare to root them in place, but most of the time you need to be in the backline. Positioning as Khepri is very, very difficult to be in the right spot, but that time NeiruMah was, and it saves his mid laner's life.
And most of the people will overlook how difficult Khepri might be to play just because his ultimate is easy. Like, you throw it out, you're guaranteed to revive someone or keep them alive a little bit longer and slow them down. Left-hand side, Snoopy feeling himself against DayToRemember. Caught out of position a little bit due to no wards around. Snoopy's nearly in execute range just in time for the hovering death. Nice cleanup, space and time fired by Hurriwind to support, but it was fired towards the tier 1 tower of Memory of Gabe. First blood, Neilmah for free.
And Skeeledon just getting that kill, just exerting his pressure around the maps. Thanatos 2-0 so far today. We didn't see really any of him in Europe yesterday, but certainly looking successful early on here for North America.
Yeah, dominant in the jungle so far, and even when we've not seen him perform amicably, he's still winning the games, so to speak, as the time goes on. 1-0 the other way of Neilmah here. The gold lead is only around 800 for that, and most of that comes from the first blood overall. The invasions have been relatively even with the trader buffs.
And that, again, favors in Memory of Gabe, because the early game pressure for Neilmah is certainly higher. They've got the Isis, they've got the Thanatos, they've got the Anhur. So much early game pressure, and you're really waiting for the mid game for characters like Serqet and like JAnus to be their strongest.
Elementals being looked at on the right-hand side by both teams at the moment. You could see the Skeeledon was waiting around there for them to spawn, but had to back away. Knowing he didn't have hovering death after the last little first pickup, they do have to surrender these unless that Spirit Ball connects. Not today.
Venenu just trying to play with the cheeky Spirit Ball as he has basically all game, was trying to find someone on the right-hand Harpies earlier on. Hurriwind, he's gone for the Doom Orb in this middle lane, really relying on his positioning and escapability on this JAnus, and boosting up that MP5 that's harder to come by in the middle lane these days, as well as the overall early damage.
And the old days Doom Orb, I mean, obviously the builds went from Doom Orb into physical protections in the mid lane at the start of the game to allow to weather the storm penetration. But now Mana seems to be a bit of an issue for some of these mid laners now. We're seeing the rise of Doom Orb once more, which does give you that nice power spike as well that you can underestimate if you've not realized they've started to stack that up.
Oh yeah, it really does accelerate JAnus' power curve very, very nicely. It feels really good on him because of that safety that he has. As long as you're positioning correctly, it's very hard to kill him. So I do like this pickup, especially with the Geb shield to keep him alive, even in other situations. Hurriwind's going to have a pretty easy time making sure he stays alive with that Doom Orb. The only thing that I think may hurt him is that without the Dynasty Plate Helm, unless he goes into it right after his boots, he's going to have a tough time getting poked out up against Skeeledon, as well as if DayToRemember comes in and makes a rotation. In the early stages of the game, those Anhur auto attacks, the Impale, the Desert Fury, does so much damage early on that it may burst Hurriwind down before he can get to a wall.
Well, you mentioned DayToRemember there. I'm looking at the Hunter builds between the two. Obviously, it's Anhur versus the Medusa. And Anhur here going for what more than likely will be the Poison Star here, whereas it might be a Transcendence coming out from Snoopy. Gold Fury started up here, already been bursted down, very low already. The steal is available in Memory of Gabe. Will steal it away. Space and time out from Hurriwind to create portals to allow into the sky. Goes Skeeledon looking to disengage. NeiruMah very low on the backside here. Good use of the cloud from Whalrus there just to get away. NeiruMah forced to ult himself.
Just to make sure he stays alive, but misplay there from Neilmah. It was a Petrify from Snoopy, I believe, that is able to steal that away. And Petrify does a lot of damage. That's one of the buffs that Medusa got, is that even when the targets aren't looking at her, that Petrify does more damage now, but it's over top of an Ice Assault. That just should not happen. Venenu, that's his job to secure that that Gold Fury. Doesn't do it, and as such, the lead goes right into a Memory of Gabe.
They lose some pressure onto the tier 1 tower on the right hand side. Kiki, though, was trying to pressure the right here, but he's caught out of position now, trying to contest the elementals, running for his life. Good double stun, good drop down. Skeeledon picks up 1. At least it's a 1-for-1. Hold that. It might be a 2-for-1 if they can find Cynosure here.
Skeeledon trying to chase him down, but Hurriwind just so on point with these portals. Always is. Skeeledon still looking for it, gonna eat a little bit of damage there thanks to that Unstable Vortex. And as mobile as Skeeledon is with the Shield of Regrowth on Thanatos, Cynosure is even more so on that Serqet.
Bit of a seesaw battle now because you saw the pressure that Memory of Gabe had in mid lane. Now Neilmah had the opportunity to do the same, looking for a pick on Eonic under the tower. Silence is good after the Spirit Ball, but the shield comes back up in time. DayToRemember and Venenu were trying to backdoor that, tank it up, had to fall back. As on the left-hand side, they will lose a wave to the tower there, thanks to Snoopy pushing that one in.
But I really like that call there from Neilmah, still staying aggressive. That's exactly what we didn't see from a team like Astral Authority, and that's exactly what we are seeing from Neilmah, and that's the right spot to be aggressive.
He's in a lot of trouble here as well. The abduct was good, but the meditation was even better. Skeeledon was looking for an execute there, but also to self-peel himself out of danger. Surprisingly enough there, he could have probably picked up Eonic after that Spirit Ball hit, but you can't guarantee that was going to happen.
No, the call there was to disengage and just go and farm. Skeeledon very much, you know, he's very quick with his decision-making, and once he makes that decision, that's final. He's going with it. And that's one of his greatest strengths, I think, as a jungler, is just understanding when he can go in and play aggressive and when he has to get out. One of the things that he's definitely matured with during his time in the Pro League.
2-1 on the scoreboards. Now gold lead, slightly in favor of Memory of Gabe based off the steal of the Gold Fury, the last little skirmish there. Neilmah had an opportunity to use that early game to their advantage, you know? But Memory of Gabe, they are pros that have been around the scene for a very long time, most of them. So they recognize that, you know, compositions are going to be like focus on the Gold Fury. You've got to make sure you zone control. Nobody really zoned there. They were just looking to burst it down before anyone turned up.
And I don't mind that call because it should have worked. I mean, the Ice Assault is going to do way more damage than anything else will at that stage in the game. It was just a missed execution. And when it comes down to, you know, missing your play, missing your skill shot, missing the call, it's whatever. As long as the idea was there and correct, I've got no problem with it. I still like Neilmah's aggressiveness with this competition.
Focus around the Oracles here, and it's NeiruMah in a bit of an awkward spot after the portal there. Avoids more damage follow-up though. These Oracles, very important to both. Petrify hits onto DayToRemember, gonna force his beads, and Cynosure's going in. Eats a Cypher over space and time on NeiruMah. They're still looking at DayToRemember at the same time with Cynosure there. Portal from Hurriwind is good into the Unstable Vortex, forcing NeiruMah back again. Skeeledon trying to whip them around to the right-hand side towards mid, but he's in trouble.
He's gonna go up into the sky, but it doesn't matter. Way too late. Last breath is gonna secure that kill for Cynosure. Skeeledon takes his first death of the game. Red buff going the way of In Memory of Gabe. And there you see the power of JAnus just continuing that chase very, very easily with through space and time.
But it's also the Petrify from Snoopy. He's really showing up with the Medusa ultimate now. Don't forget that nowadays with the ultimate change to Petrify, if they face away, instead of taking 50% of the damage, you take 75%, which increases the amount he's going to do, especially with a transcendent stacking.
Medusa is kind of like the go-between between a hunter like Cupid that's really great at team fighting because of his giant ultimate, but not so great in your traditional hunter battles, and gods like Anhur or something like that, where you can box really, really well in lane, but your team fight necessarily isn't quite as good because of it, though Anhur's team fight is pretty good because of shifting sands, but you get the point. And Medusa has a really, really strong team fighting ultimate. Petrify, not the widest cone in the world, but it's a pretty long cone and can hit multiple targets very, very easily. Even without getting the stun, it's still a very, very strong slow when they're turned away. Very good ultimate in team fight scenarios, plus a very good attack speed steroid. Even though it's only for 3 autos, not as strong as someone like, say, Izanami or Rama, it's still good. You get that extra dot damage as well. Medusa has a lot going for her, but the fact that her Petrify gets, or her Lacerate, her dash, can get blocked very easily, that's one of the things that kind of held her back from competitive play. But just with that extra damage on the team fighting ultimate and Petrify has been enough to really see her go back into the god pool of many professional hunters.
On the left-hand side there, you did see at the end there, Neilmah did manage to steal away the purple buff on the left-hand side where Hurriwind was looking to defend for the time being here. It slowed down for a moment just because the global objectives, the contested objectives, I should say, were not available. But now the Gold Fury's respawned. Memory of Gabe starting this one up early on. NeiruMah on his way first of all. Kiki still hasn't left this lane on the right-hand side, but does have teleport now.
He's got it now, but Skeeledon, he's here with NeiruMah. He's gonna get revived, but I don't think it's gonna matter. Immediately petrified. Snoopy able to pick him up, as well as Skeeledon. They're 2 dead for Neilmah.
And now with the rotation from Kiki looking to defend here, the tier 1 tower being pressed on the right-hand side. For this Gold Fury reset again, Kiki gonna eat a chunk of damage from the unstable vortex. They just keep walking into Hurriwind's portals over and over again. And this is doomsday for NeiruMah right now. 3 members dead. Gold Fury being threatened. Gold Fury gonna get taken unless DayToRemember can make something happen. Looks like he's gonna choose to do the purple instead.
Well, now you see why Hurriwind favors this JAnus over top of Thoth, because he's just using these portals to set up for his team consistently. His portal hit rate must be through the roof, and that is one of the hardest skill shots to hit in Smite. Very, very small ground targeter, a little bit of a delay when it comes out as well. Plus, you got to really weigh the risk versus the reward, because you're using your escape to really initiate a fight. But Hurriwind has done it flawlessly thus far. 0-0 and 5. He's been a part of every single kill for In Memory of Gabe. That's what you expect to see out of a global pressure mid laner like that.
Kill amounts over in North America, though, not as high as we saw in Europe yesterday. We were seeing kills like 17 kills by the 10-minute mark.
Yeah, it was nuts.
At the moment, the kills are a little bit less. It's more about position and objective play more often than not. Burning the beads and actually just being in a better position is what I kind of feel like overall. But in the sky right now, I think we just saw Skeeledon. No, he didn't. I thought I heard him with the hovering death for a second there, looking for a play under the tower onto Snoopy. But Snoopy knows what's up.
And Skeeledon needs this farm on his left-hand side. Finally hitting level 12. Finally going to be able to get that second relic, whereas you see Cynosure for In Memory of Gabe sitting at 3-0 and 2. He's got his blink. Not going for a Heart Seeker that we've seen a lot of, instead going straight for the penetration that we're used to seeing out of junglers from seasons 1 to 3, basically. The Jotun's Wrath looks like it's going to be a Brawler's Beatstick next. Just getting as much power and penetration as possible early on.
It's just a waiting game again for the global objectives here, because this is generally what happened in Smite in Season 3. It was a lull between waiting for the mid-camp contest or buffs to come up to be stolen before you saw any real plays. But if people do walk out of position, like DayToRemember slightly out there, he may get pressured onto by Cynosure, whose blink is now on cooldown.
And that's a good win for Neilmah, able to get that blink out. Cynosure's engages have been very, very strong thus far, and just taking one more tool away from him to make sure he cannot continue to put pressure on a vulnerable mid-god like Venenu, or even really engage easily on the right-hand side onto Kiki.
The patience there from the team of Memory of Gabe to wait until they were all ready to initiate and backdoor this tower with the minions. Very good call. DayToRemember backed in front of them. Nobody else on the side of NeiruMah showed their face.
No one was there in time, and so the tier 1 tower falls. Nothing doing about it. And Kiki was on the right-hand side with Skeeledon. They both back. They don't get anything out of that pressure. And Skeeledon has kind of gone into this farm mode. Now he's got his Heart Seeker, so now he can start trying to play a little bit more aggressive again, I think. But and that's not a good thing whenever your early game Thanatos, your early game Isis, they both have to wait a little bit to get some more farm. That's not really what you want out of these pressure gods early on.
And the problem is, well, is what we've really seen is the mobility from In Memory of Gabe is just too much for Neilmah to handle. The JAnus, the Serqet, even the Geb and the Sun Wukong, the mobility from them is just too strong to try and answer these rotations, it seems.
Every single character on In Memory of Gabe has some sort of dash to either create distance or close distance. Whereas on the side of Neilmah, there really isn't that much mobility. I mean, Venenu pretty vulnerable in the middle lane. Skeeledon very, very quick with Scent of Death, as well as that Shield of Regrowth, but not nearly as much as, say, a Serqet.
Well, Hurriwind set up for some damage over the wall. The unstable Vortex. Venenu lost about 30% of his health there. And Skeeledon level 12. When you look at Gabe, he's level 13 here. Blink Cataclysm onto 2. Good knock-up. Space of time hits as well. Skeely's in trouble, looking to hover in death away. Luckily, the burst damage is already done, but the focus is now on Kiki. Running for his life back to safety for the time being with the Portal Demon and the speed buff available. Memory of Gabe are going to look for both.
It's just a matter of how much do Neilmah lose off this, because they actually win that engagement. They only use 1 ultimate, whereas in Memory of Gabe, they use 3 and a bunch of relics. But this Portal Demon now being contested. Kiki looking to go in. Portal off the mark for once from Hurriwind. Finally doesn't find one, but they're looking on the right-hand side.
2 are going to fall here. 1's already dead in NeiruMah. You'll respawn when the Khepri died, and the team were already waiting of Memory of Gabe to clean that one up as well. Kiki next on the list. Unstable Vortex chunking for High Heaven. Whalrus zoning away on the front side as well, but the call for Memory of Gabe, fall back to the Portal Demon.
And again, it's Snoopy's Petrified, just doing so much work in those tiny corridors in the jungle, finding to their Ven and NeiruMah. No answer right now for Neilmah for this AoE sort of damage and burst coming out of the Memory of Gabe.
Like the call not to go for the Fire Giant here, just establish even more of a lead while you can. You don't need to force a Fire Giant right now, which can always be stolen. Why not take the towers with the man advantages, with the health bars you've got, and look for a tier 2 as well.
And even if they get a little bit poked out here in Memory of
Portal.
Gabe, they could just use the portal to get right back, and they might do just that. They've got a decent amount of gold, and they could try and just retreat, reset, and then back and do this siege once more.
Well, the call is it going to be Fire Giant or is he going to back to base? They're all looking to back right now, but Neilmah recognize that Kiki should anyway. They could try and set up a trap around this portal here, but I think their experience differential between the two, it's actually too big for them to really make a play against this team right now.
It would have been a nice little cheeky idea, but I'm not sure if it would have actually worked for them. Though Neilmah, when you're in a position like this, you kind of just got to take a risk and hope it works, because clearly whatever you're doing hasn't worked thus far.
And now back to the mid lane we go with Venenu still trying to stack up this book of Tarth that he started off with here, invested into it. Obviously, it was both the right sort of time, but getting the stacks when you lost the time was a little bit tricky here. Obviously, squishy as well.
Yeah, just going for sort of a mid-game build is Venenu, and when the early game didn't go your way, I suppose it's kind of the route you have to take in the middle lane, just trying to keep your damage relevant later on.
Gold Fury going the way of Memory of Gabe here as well. No contest from Neilmah. Fire Giant still available now. Memory of Gabe is just pretty much just running the show this game. They're not doing anything crazy. They're just waiting for the right opportunity. They potentially could have done a Fire Giant by now, but instead of taking the risk of that, they're just continuing to apply pressure.
Everyone is just doing their job better than their opposition right now in Memory of Gabe. I mean, Hurriwind has been the standout player, obviously, with this JAnus, and that's no surprise to hear his name be called out in that fashion, especially on this god. Cynosure has been picking people left and right. This time it's left, trying to look for DayToRemember. Trades out his Blink and Ultimate for DayToRemember's Purification. But it's just been all over the place. In Memory of Gabe, just looking like the better team across the board.
And that's what you kind of expected coming into this when you saw this roster on paper. Memory of Gabe pretty much crushed their way through the open bracket to get to this spot as well. And Neilmah, obviously a roster replacing the Envy one from the Pro League as well. A couple of roster changes as time has gone on, with Venenu now in the mid lane and DayToRemember, NeiruMah joining this roster as well. Lots of changes there.
And that's, you know, to be expected. You need a little bit of time to get up to the level of competition that you really need in the SPL. And there's no shame in that.
They want the pick on Venenu here. Gonna force his beats, but through space and time from Hurriwind hit a home. He exactly predicted where he was gonna juke to in good time. One-man pick, and now Memory of Gabe gonna fall back a second, wait for some minions, try and draw Neilmah onto them in a 4v5. But on the left-hand side, Skeeledon's not gonna be with them here.
So we saw Copasil the Problem just decide to ban JAnus away from Chaos, give him that respect. It's time to put Hurriwind in that category.
Yeah.
There's just no reason to give him this god ever again, as far as I'm concerned. He is that good on it. He's just, it clearly put in the work. This wasn't a god that he played a whole lot in Season 3, but clearly wanted to get it in his god pool and ready to go for Season 4. And boy, has that worked out, because he looks dominant on this mid laner.
Tier 2 turn the mid fell, Tier 2 turn the right falls as well. Left-hand side, Skeeledon will answer back with a Tier 1 of his own, mainly just to get farm for himself, if anything else, but he does get a bit of global gold for his team. Memory of Gabe, however, don't start the Fire Giant there. They just all quickly head back to base, buy up a couple of items, and then head back out once more.
I think they were a little bit concerned that Skeeledon could continue split pushing and grab 1,500 gold for his team, which still would keep the gold lead around 10K in favor of a Memory of Gabe, but there's no reason to give that to them for free, basically.
The game's never over, though.
No.
In best of ones, the game's never over, and Copes, still the problem, proved that earlier on today.
They sure did. They sure did, and all it takes is one successful split push to open up that door to the Titan room, and really make it a possibility for the team to win with a bunch of rallying rituals and a frenzy or two. I mean, it's never over now.
And now for the time being, it's going to be Neilmah waiting back, waiting for an opportunity to make something happen. Their early game composition that was very strong in the laning phase, bit of a different story when it comes to these team fights now, especially with not the capitalized lead that they were looking for at the beginning. And it seems like Memory of Gabe is just waiting for the opportunity. It feels like they're very almost too patient, I want to say here.
Yeah,
too patient.
I mean, I think they're waiting for the portal demon to respawn so they can grab that and just give themselves that fail-safe in case a botched engagement happens, where they can teleport back into the fire giant and make sure they're in a good spot. And as you can see, Neilmah, they know that that's the game plan for In Memory of Gabe. They're looking to stop them from doing that portal demon.
Definitely KikiSoCheeky and DayToRemember to watch out for. The highest 2 levels on the side of Neilmah, and I know for a fact Cynosure would love to get a taste of either one of them. In the mid lane instead, there, Skeeledon getting focused out, pushed a little bit too far forward. Now Hovering's death down. There's another tool that Neilmah won't have at the fire giant and portal demon defense.
And I feel like they really did need that hovering death to try and just get a quick execute onto somebody. It's not that 40% threshold quite yet. He's only got a couple points into that ultimate, but it would have been enough to really make a big difference in this team fight.
Portal demon does go the way of Memory of Gabe, bursted down nice and quickly there, and they're all just sat back again for the moment. You can see Hurriwind just going to go back to base, continue working on his Rod of Tahuti, couple more wards online, and use that portal. This is what I'm expecting to see from the teams around this portal demon, is to make sure that they leave a person there at all times, just in case there's some sort of trap set up by their enemy.
Or a ward or something along those lines, just to make sure that you're safe to come through there. Stun going to be hit onto Eonic, but you can see just how negligible all that damage is. Venenu actually going for a Spear of Desolation, a very expensive penetration option when you're this far behind. Gives you a good amount of power, 80 power, 20 flat penetration, but the cooldown reduction, probably not super important on Isis overall. Oh, Eonic, the Blink Cataclysm, forced the Purification out from Skeeledon, but the focus is on to Kiki. Nice double Spirit Ball over the wall, but the Petrify, Skeeledon falls, Hurriwind's able to pick him up.
And now the race is on for Neilmah to run for their lives. Venenu ain't going nowhere right now. Even though he does get revived there by NeiruMah, he's only going to be in an awkward position again. Kiki being pushed back by Snoopy as well, and DayToRemember's like, peace out, boys, I'll see you in the fountain.
We'll see you there, because that's where we're going to have to defend. Right-hand Phoenix, all 5 members, still completely healthy for In Memory of Gabe. And was how far ahead Snoopy is. He's got both of the shurikens finished. That Phoenix not going to stand for long. Right Phoenix falls. Eonic rolls out towards the middle Phoenix. That one's next on the list.
Yeah, 2 Phoenixes down for sure here. Unless they make some mistakes, they don't have minions with them, remember. So they are trying to backdoor this one, which will take him a bit of time. DayToRemember, forced back against 5. You've got to respect Cynosure is going to do a lot of damage if he swings on you right now. This middle Phoenix does eventually go down. But once again, Memory of Gabe probably had opportunities to try and close this one out or just end the game, but safe than sorry.
Well, they did have a tower still standing on the left-hand side, so that Titan is going to be pretty tanky even at 25 minutes. A couple key items still need to be finished for In Memory of Gabe. Rod of Tahuti, a huge one. You can see that Cynosure, he's got Titan's Bane now. Maybe they didn't have quite enough damage, but potentially, yeah. In Memory of Gabe definitely playing this one pretty slow. I
think it's one of those things that if we were 6 months into the season here, we'll probably be calling out Memory of Gabe for being way too passive. But because it's the start of the season and there's things and tricks that may happen to you if you're not too careful, play it on this air of caution as well.
Sure.
Obviously, if you don't win games like this against Neilmah, you might not make it into the Pro League again, and you want to make sure you have that tag.
Yeah, what if Kiki buys a Frenzy and he and DayToRemember just wipe your whole team defending the Titan? I mean, things like that are definitely possible in Season 4, so you can see In Memory of Gabe definitely respecting that sort of option, playing it slow here. 26 minutes in, they're up 11-2, and a ton of gold and a ton of towers, and they've got 2 Phoenixes down, but
the game is still the fire giant yet again. And once again, Memory of Gabe not going to even start it up. They're just trying to draw in one person and find a pick on them. If we see Eonic turn up here, he's going to have the blink available with the Cataclysm one more time, which sets him up for so much. Snoopy, though, finally going to start the fire giant.
He's got a little bit of power with that crit as well. It's going to help it. Whalrus, him and Hurriwind, they're all there, but the engagement is on. Cynosure blinks into the back line, looking directly at Venenu, who immediately ults himself, but that wall from Kiki was great!
Kiki did great work there just to slow this whole engagement down. DayToRemember forced back to help out Venenu more than anybody else, but that means the tanks in the front line are left alone and exposed. Kiki's still amongst the pigeons, trying to get himself away, but he's very low on health right now, as then comes Skeeledon in trying to distract them, but he sacrificed sacrifices his life for free. Kiki low health, Venenu low health, and everybody in the side of Memory of Gabe looking pretty happy.
And none of them have ultimates, but the same could be said for that of Neilmah. So the Fire Giant gets defended for the time being, but it's not going to stand for long, as in Memory of Gabe, they're finally going to be able to secure this one. 27 minutes in, all 5 members with Fire Giant ready to go.
Ready to go indeed. 12-2 in the scoreline. Kills definitely not as exciting overall. The calls to disappear from, to get out from NeiruMah have been pretty solid though. Like, even though they've been in trouble, they've tried to disengage, they've lost less casualties than they should have in some circumstances overall. It's just a lack of kills, man. I mean, Skeely's the only one with kills, and even then, they're still struggling.
Yeah, 2 and 4 for the only person with kills on their squad. And the idea was there, I think, from Neilmah, but when it didn't go well right from the get-go with that bot.
I was going to say, was that the issue? Was it the level 1 play that started this off?
It certainly didn't help him, I'll put it that way.
I thought it was more the Gold Fury for me. The Gold Fury steal by Snoopy.
Yeah.
That was the real turn point.
I agree with that, but maybe if they proxy that wave correctly in the tier right away, they can get a little bit more space, a little bit more damage, and secure that Gold Fury without Snoopy being there in time. I mean, it's impossible to say. There's always a million options, even when things go well or poorly. But overall, just a couple missteps from a Memory of Gabe, or excuse me, from Neilmah, really allowed a Memory of Gabe to just roll through this game.
And credit where it's due to Memory of Gabe as well. They did ward that left-hand side in the red buff at the start of the game and saw that whole 5-man rotation coming in towards the red buff area. So they played very far back, sat there, and to be fair, Neilmah just walks into a trap, basically, that was set for them, or at least a safety option from Memory of Gabe just to sit back and wait. And right now, Memory of Gabe looking for the final Phoenix on the left-hand side.
Frenzy's pop, there's the blinket from Eonic, the petrified DayToRemember, already very low. Great unstable vortex to chunk down 2, then the first one to fall. Next is going to be NeiruMah, who pops him up. No Kiki gonna fall on the front line. Unstable vortex finishes off the hunter in the fountain. NeiruMah is gonna fall as well. 4 dead. Skeeledon, the only one with kills, the only one left alive. But their Titan is not going to stand.
They want to kill on Skeeledon if they can, but the lamb to the slaughter right there at Neilmah. They're going to have an interesting time of things going ahead now. If they look for the same sort of style of play, I think they could win games if they get off to a better start. They've gone for the early game there. They got off okay, but it just didn't work out, that Gold Fury.
Yeah, I mean, that sort of strategy can definitely work against less experienced teams than in Memory of Gabe. I mean, you could throw that up against even Noble or Cope is still the new problem or whatever. It doesn't matter. Anything like that could definitely work against another team, but just a little bit unfortunate they run into in Memory of Gabe right off the bat.
And Cynosure on the Serqet, one of the newest additions to the Pro League, well, to the PC side of things, I guess. He was on console for most of last year, but now he's really showing off.
Really, really strong game. Definitely focusing the right targets down, working well with his team, and just super, super mobile on this Serqet. Always standing near Hurriwind, ready to go, and you can see the synergy between them right there.
Yeah, Skeeledon as well, just constantly trying to get away from this, but the dart damage just too much in the early stages. And then you've also got the likes of the rest of the team having a good time as well of how this has gone so far today. Snoopy had some pretty big plays as well, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
The Gold Fury one was very important, I guess, at the beginning of that game, just stealing that one away, but consistent in his position as well.
Yeah, really, really strong play from the Hunter, back in the Hunter role after a little bit of a time in the middle lane for Soar. Definitely looks comfortable in his old role.
And that was 42, 11-2 as well. So good performances overall from Memory of Gabe. Are they they're my expected #1 team so far, but Enemy looked pretty good too.
And Memory of Gabe is the clear #1 team so far in my mind.
Okay, well, we've seen every single game so far. It's going to be interesting to see how these teams continue on. We'll be back after the break with Game 4 and a brand new matchup for you.